Hi class. As you know, this week's module is about estimating time, and you're going to take your work breakout structure and attempt to estimate how much time it's going to take for each task. At the beginning of the module, before the module at a glance, there's two quotes that I think are key to this process of estimating time in terms of determining whether you're on the right track or not. The first is by a guy named Steve Pavlina, who's kind of like a self-made sort of self-made self-improvement guru. So he's not so much in the project management business, but he makes a really good, interesting point in this article, and it's from 2008, but still relevant. He says, in order to make accurate estimates, it's important that you break your tasks down to the right level of granularity. And that's really key. If you look at a task and you really think there's a big range of time involved, you probably have not broken it down small enough to understand how each component, how long each component will take. He says, if your chunks are too small, you'll get buried in low-level details. In other words, if they're too small, it's going to take too much time and overhead to figure it out. So you have to find that nice middle ground where the chunks aren't too big, where you overlook too many details, or they're too small. The next quote's from Greg Horn's book that we've been reading, The Absolute Beginner's Guide. He talks about where the problem with estimating, where the challenges are. He says that the number one reason for inaccurate work estimates is an inadequate definition of the work to be performed, which includes work elements, packages not accounted for in the WBS. In other words, you left something out. You just missed something. Maybe in the requirements you did not transfer over a important component. Estimates based on lack of detail in the work breakdown. This relates to the quote above by Pavlina, which is that you haven't broken a task down to enough detail in order to be able to come up with a reasonably accurate estimate of the time. And finally, the estimates are made without understanding the standards, quality levels, and completion criteria for the work package. That means that you have a task. It's small enough in detail to understand the time, but you can't really project it because you don't know how good it's supposed to be. You don't know what level of quality, or you don't know when it's actually going to complete the completion criteria. And that's a tough one because in this early in the planning stage, sometimes you can't predict that. And that's where a lot of the variability comes in time estimating and why we give a range of times. So to point out some of this, I'm going to slip over to my example, my project plan example. If it's down here, come on. Let's get down there. It's down here. Okay, let's click view. Okay, here we go. I'll click on the WBS. Now, what I did was I set up a WBS based on making an apple pie. So starting at the top is recipe selection. So what I did was I looked at the task 1A, B, and C, and for each I took about how long it's going to take. So looking at recipe books, well, I figured best case is 20 minutes, most likely is about 30 minutes, worst case 40 minutes. Then I said search the internet. Well, the internet's a bit faster than paging through books, so I did 10, 20, and 30. Then I select 3, which I kind of like, and then compare the reviews of the 3 I selected, and I do 15, 30, 40. So I added those all up. So I took A, B, and C, and I rolled it up to here. So the researching took 35 minutes best case, 60 minutes most likely, 70 minutes worst case. That really seems like a long time for estimating books. So I think I'm going to bring that down. For looking at recipes. So I'm going to probably make that smaller. And comparing reviews. But anyways, when I add the whole thing up, it comes to 50 minutes best case, 90 minutes most likely, 110 minutes worst case. I don't think so. So by looking at the whole task globally, after I broke down the estimates, I get a sense of that, that's really not going to take this long. So I would revise these in terms of the books, the internet. And my guess is based on my experience looking at recipes, cut it in half. It's more likely as I reduce these times, it's going to be more like maybe 20 minutes, 30, worst case 40, just to look up some recipes for an apple pie. And comparing reviews actually can take some time as you read them and go through, but I think worst case 40 is probably way out, and I would reduce this as well. Maybe it's 5, 10, and 20, because sometimes you look at a review, that's it, I like it, makes sense, everyone likes it, move on. I don't have to start reviewing the others. You know what it's like reviewing stuff on the web or reading readers' reviews. So ingredients. Another problem is, that I mentioned earlier is in the quotes is that breaking it down to too much detail. And I talked about this earlier in one of my earlier videos in the course. So this is ingredients, and I have to go get them. So I make the list, fine. I figure that'll take, let me switch to edit here. Okay, make the list. It'll probably take me probably a minute, maybe 2, maybe 4 at the most. I mean, I would even do 1, 1, and 1. I'm so certain that to make a list, recipe list for a pie is not going to take long. So in other words, if you're so certain how long it's going to take, your best case, worst case, and most likely can be the same if you're really, really sure. So I'll actually make this 1, 2, and 2. See what's in the stock, what do I have already. I'll probably take 2 minutes. Maybe I have to go in the basement, see what's down there. 2, 3, and 3. So I'm really certain about that one. Purchase remaining items. So I listed here A through J all the things that take involved in going to the store. I really don't need to get level of detail. I know what it's like to get to my grocery store. I know when it can be traffic or it can be really crowded there. So I say I'm just going to eliminate all these, boom, and I'm going to say purchase remaining items. I'll say best case is usually to go to the store for a few things is 30 minutes. Most likely is 35. Worst case, because there's a lot of uncertainty with this in terms of traffic, how crowded the store is, who knows what. I'm going to go out 60 minutes, worst case. And then I would proceed to do that for all the others here. And once again, you roll these items up. So to get the totals for each, what basically is each milestone. You can use a spreadsheet to do this. In other words, make columns and rows for each task, and then you can total the milestone for what's in that task. Whatever way works for you best to identify the times, worst, best, most likely for each task, and to essentially add those up, roll them up to see how long the milestone will take. Now, the example of making a pie is sort of silly. I mean, I just use it as a simple example because I typically in a work breakdown structure wouldn't estimate something that takes only 1 or 2 minutes for making a website or developing a website. Things might typically take 30, 40, 50 minutes. Sometimes they could take hours. And when you roll everything up, add everything up for the whole project, you're going to have 10s, 20s, maybe over 100 hours. I mean, it's going to be a lot of time eventually. But as you know, sometimes you look at a whole project and your eyes glaze over thinking how long it's going to take. But when you break it down into small tasks that you can pretty easily identify the amount of time it's going to take, then it becomes a lot easier by adding those up to see how long the whole thing's going to take. So I'll just save this now. Exit out of there. So that's basically sort of the snapshot of what I wanted to talk about in terms of trying to understand the relationship with the work breakout structure and the time estimating you're going to do. And then look at my other video, which is from last year, talking about some other issues in the work breakout structure as it relates to time estimating. Any questions, let me know. Hopefully that's enough information to help you sort of tackle time estimates, and please ask me for any questions or put it up in the course questions blog, which is right here. Anything to do project plan questions, you can post them here. I subscribe, so I'll get it and I'll respond as soon as I can. Okay, thanks a lot, and that's it for now.